Hello and welcome to day 5 of 28 days of tech careers. And I am very happy to be here and very happy to be sharing about what I do on a day-to-day basis. And I am Ruchika Israni. I am based out of Dallas area in Texas. And I am a service delivery manager at CA Technologies. We recently went through an acquisition. So now we are a Broadcom company. And here are the topics I was planning on covering today. So how did I end up in service delivery management? And then I wanted to talk about a little bit about the differences between the project manager versus the service delivery manager, because those two are separate disciplines. And then what are the service delivery manager responsibilities? And then, a lot of people ask me, can you describe a day in the life of, service delivery manager? So I'm going to cover a little bit about that as well. And then finally, some key skills and competencies required to be a service delivery manager. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to proceed to the next slide, which is my journey towards being a service delivery manager. I did my bachelor's back in India in computer science. And then as soon as I finished my bachelor's, I landed an on-campus job opportunity at HSBC Software Development India. And I was, a software developer there, worked there for about 2 years. Then I realized, in order to get ahead in the corporate environment, I need a little more training and wider exposure. And that's where I picked my master's degree in information management. I did my master's from Syracuse University in upstate New York. As soon as I finished my master's, I was approached for a role in the services organization at CA Technologies. So I did services consulting for about 3 years. And, the being a consultant typically requires a lot of travel. I did a lot of travel for 3 years, and then I got jaded with a lot of travel. So then I moved to a more, office-based position, a more desk-based position in product support. I did that for about 2 years, and then I was approached for this opportunity as being a service delivery manager. So I've always been in the tech field, but ironically enough, you don't need to have, you don't need to be, a software developer or, coming from a technical background to be a service delivery manager. And, we'll get to, the key skills and the competencies, but there are, a lot of things that a service delivery manager does. And, a wide variety of things a service delivery manager does. So I'll get to that in a minute. But I did want to provide a background about, my journey up until this point. So next, I did want to chat a little bit about the difference between what a project manager does versus what a service delivery manager does. Let me start with what is service delivery, right? So very simply, service delivery is the act of providing a service to customers, and customers could be external to the organization or internal. In the organization, in my case, all of my customers are external, so outside of CA Technologies, and I have 6 customers in different domains. 2 of them are insurance, 2 of them are banking and financial services, and 2 are government organizations. So that's a little bit about, service delivery and, my customers right now. Project manager versus service delivery manager, right? So there are, a lot of similarities, to begin with between what a project manager does and the service delivery manager does as well. So the similarities are, both of them are focused on fulfilling organizational goals, and both of them more adopt a process-based approach, and then both of them are eventually satisfying the customer and the stakeholder needs. But I did want to focus here on the primary differences, right, between what both of these disciplines do. So project management is more so, project focused. A project has start and an end, right? It's more so, shorter term, right? Whereas a service, a delivery manager is more operations focused. So that's more longer term. So I do have, customer contracts running from anywhere between, 1 year to 3 years. So that's more, longer term kind of, commitment to the customer. And then the project manager typically works with triple constraints, right? Managing scope, schedule, and cost. And a service delivery manager, although, they are expected to stay on top of, budget and, meeting deadlines and so on. But also the main focus is building a good relationship with the customer organization and managing and improving the process, right? So that's mainly the primary focus of a service delivery manager. And then the delivery methodology of a project manager is, they could adopt either a waterfall methodology, either, they could go with agile methodology like a Scrum or something, or they could do a hybrid model, right? Whereas a service delivery manager, they are more focused on ITIL. So that's information technology infrastructure library, and that's a framework which provides the processes and so on for service management. So that's, on a high level, a difference between what a project manager does versus what a service delivery manager does. So let's go to the next slide. So I thought this slide is pretty funny, but it's also, accurate to a great extent. A service delivery manager wears several hats. They have a wide variety of responsibilities. So I guess I'll just pause here and see, if anybody would like to take a stab at, what would be the responsibilities of a service delivery manager before I go on to the next slide.
So I'm thinking, so as a project manager, right, we think about projects, programs, our portfolio. And so when you start saying service delivery manager is operational, it's like that step higher, right? So even though you have a portfolio manager, y'all as an operation is like, well, how is this going to work 3-5 years down the line? So that's what I'm thinking. I'm just talking out loud.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Thank you for sharing. So, like I said, a service delivery manager wears several hats, and like someone said, the goal is more longer term focused, right? More higher level, more operations focused, right? One of the main goals is customer satisfaction. So making sure the customer is happy with what the service that we are providing. And one of the things also is governance over book of business. So in my organization, each person is looked upon as a business owner. Each manager is looked upon as a business owner. So I mentioned I have 6 customers. So that's my book of business, right? And I manage, those 6 customers, but also I'm responsible for the budgeting and making sure, the internal, financials and so on, right? So I manage that very closely, right? And then the next thing also is the service level agreements. So when a contract is signed between CA Technologies and a customer, right, there are typically agreements made on certain things, right? On, let's say, when we open a ticket with your team, how soon it needs to be responded to, right? So let's say if it is, if it's a system down kind of a situation, that's pretty severe, right? So we want this type of ticket to be responded within 2 hours, right? So these are the kind of agreements that are made between, the service provider and the company who's getting the service. And a job of a service delivery manager is to manage the SLAs and the key performance indicators as per the contract. And one thing I also mentioned before is, building and managing relationships. I think I only spoke about, managing relationships with the customer, but there is also this internal component of, managing relationships, right? So I work with a lot of different organizations within my company, be it support, be it, product management and so on. So there's also this component to having internal relationships so that we are able to provide, best possible service to the customer. Then, we talked about a system down kind of a situation that constitutes an incident, right? So any changes, right, that we are typically, getting into the customer system, so that managing those kind of changes as well. And then I'm actually the primary point of contact for the customer, right? So if the customer feels that, we didn't respond very well to their request, or we provided a component to them, but it's the quality is not as per their expectations, they will reach out to me. And then, I would work with the internal team to make sure that that is fixed. And, if that's really an issue, I put together a plan for improvement in the future. Right. And then there's a little bit of, project management component to it as well, ensuring the deadlines are met, managing the quality of the deliverables. And then one big piece of a service delivery manager is continuous improvement. And, so I get together periodically with my team to, review all the incidents on the tickets that the customer has opened, and try to find patterns, try to find any kind of similarities, and look for things that we can do to proactively go in and recommend to the customer. And so let's say we look at the tickets from the past 3 months, and we find out that a lot of users have questions about a specific topic. So then what we would do is we would recommend a customer, hey, let's have a training session with, this organization, and then we'll cover these topics. And that, that will help your users, right? So we look for these kind of things, which is very different than what a project manager does. And again, the goal of a service delivery manager is to have, more a longer term relationship with the customer and be more proactive. So this continuous improvement initiative helps us being more proactive. Then, it's assisting with contract renewal, right? So I mentioned we have, contracts anywhere from 1 year to 3 years. When the time comes after 3 years, we, as service delivery managers, we know the customers. So we assist the sales team in putting together the next contract as well, right? And then there's also this component about providing reports and conducting meetings, right? So I meet with my customers on a weekly, monthly, and quarterly basis. On a weekly level, I work with more, analysts or, manager type of roles from the customer organization. On the quarterly meetings, I do have, senior managers, directors, and sometimes, C-level executives as well in the quarterly meetings. So the kind of folks I work with from a customer organization also varies depending on what time of depending on what time of the year it is. With that said, sort of getting more tactical, right? So a day in the life, right? There, I do want to start off by saying that all days, no 2 days are, exactly the same, right? Because a service manager has so many different responsibilities. There could be, multiple things that come up, that may require their attention. So, any given day, I could be, reviewing contracts, creating and updating, operations manual, which is one key document that we define. And this document really describes, how we will work together with the customer organization as a team. And then, if it's a new customer, I'll help with onboarding them. I could be, looking at what are the tickets are in progress and what are the SLAs associated with the ticket. Like I said, one of my job responsibilities also working with managers and other teams. So I could be working with, let's say product management or support management for any kind of escalation that the customer may have brought to my notice. And then communication is a big piece. I could be having customer meetings, either weekly, monthly, quarterly, or internal meetings with my team or my extended team. And then creating status reports, doing financial analysis of where we are with the project. And then, any admin tasks related to, to the project as well. So again, I did want to pause here, with knowing what what a service delivery manager does. Does anyone want to take a stab at what might be the key skills and the competencies for a service delivery manager?
Hi. I think one of the most important one would be the communication skills, negotiation skills.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for sharing. Anybody else?
I guess a customer relationship management skills, like just being able to track that, to know, like you just have to have really great, I guess, Excel sheet. Excel sheet.
Right. Right. Absolutely. So,
and also, I think you should be able to negotiate well, and also the delegation skills should also be good.
Absolutely. You laid it fantastic and very, very much spot on, right? So all of what you said, right? Communication is a very big piece. Not just communicating externally with the customers, but also internally with the with the team, keeping them updated on what's going on, and also the other organizations within the company. Having a customer focus, right, and making sure we are always doing the right thing for the customer, and then the high level product knowledge, right? So that's specifically, in my case, mine is a product based company. So CA makes software products for companies. So it just helps, that we know, what the products do at a high level, so that if the customer says that, we are really struggling with, testing out our tool, and, I do know that my company makes, a suite of testing products, so that I can connect them with the right person to speak about, those products, right? So just high level, idea about the products. And then, being able to do the budget analysis, how much we've spent over the last however months since the contract started until, and how much, we are forecasting to spend, right? What will be, the project margin until, the end of the contract, and so on, right? And then prioritization and time management there, since a service delivery manager does, so many different things, a lot of things are thrown at him or her. Doing what's the, most prioritized item, focusing on the most prioritized item at that point in time. And then someone mentioned delegation skills. Absolutely, right? A service delivery manager, as such, they have a team helping them, right? They have a folks of technical background helping them. So I do have a team of technical 20 people who assist me with. And then as such, I don't do the technical work myself. So, effective delegation is the key things, right?
Yeah.
Someone mentioned negotiation skills, that's absolutely required, right? And then, customer relationship management, right? That's also a big piece. And then, analytical skills and, being collaborative and, being metrics driven, right? So being able to, pull out reports and, help the customer understand that, hey, we worked on, 10 incident tickets in the past month, right? And we have worked on this has been the average, and in the past month we saw more tickets coming in, and that's because of so and so reason, right? So being analytical and metrics driven is also a very key skill. And so that's pretty much what I had to cover. I hope today's session gave you a little bit of background about what a service delivery manager does, and day in the life and so on. Before we get to opening it up for questions, I do want to pass on my contact information, so keep in touch. And I have included my LinkedIn profile here, so drop in a note and say hi. Now let me know if you have any questions that I can help with.
Yeah, it's Tasha. So I'm really interested in, like, so you're I don't know if you said that you are PMP certified, or is it just that eventually through the organization there was like, hey, you would be a great fit to handle a wider range of projects for the long term? Like, I'm really interested in that, because I know when you look at exams, they don't say, oh, service delivery, certification, right?
Right. So that's a great question, Tasha. And, I am actually PMP certified. I'm also a Scrum Master certified. So I do have, that certification in the Agile methodology as well. There are actually a couple of certifications for service management, although they are not that popular, right? So the organization who does the certification for service delivery management is ITIL. So Information Technology Infrastructure Library. And if you look up, ITIL service management, there is a certification there. Now I'm actually ITIL Foundation certified, but there is also, one level up, which is the specifically for service management. And, I feel like the principles that I learned from, managing different phases, right, of a project in PMP and the other certification in Scrum, it helps me to, have good conversations with the customer. Like a lot of times I'm dealing with project managers at the customer side, right? So it helps to, walk the talk, with them. And, so that's helpful, but really not required as such, for being a service delivery manager. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time today. I hope this was a helpful session.
Thank you. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.